How are you feeling about this election cycle?
Determined.
Today's guest is a phenomenal woman, an American hero. She has been fighting for working people, women, and families in the United States for decades. Before being elected as the first female senator for the state of Massachusetts, she was a public school teacher and a law professor. And throughout her career as an educator and a public servant, she has been a loyal advocate for the middle class by fighting for consumer protections, affordable health care, a fair, livable minimum wage, and fighting against government corruption. Basically anything that we like to call at Generator human rights politics. Today's guest is the one and only senior senator from the state of Massachusetts, Senator Elizabeth Warren. Hi.
Hi. It's good to see you. What a generous introduction. Thank you very much. It's so good to be here, though.
Wow. This is amazing. I'm blushing.
Bailey is asleep right down there on the phone. Bailey, say hello, Bailey.
Hi, Bailey.
There you go. That's my technical help here.
So just to sort of start off, how are you feeling about this election cycle?
Determined. There is so much on the ballot, so much at stake in the presidential, but let's be clear, so much at stake in every one of these Senate races, in the House races, and down that ballot in the state races. In some places, it's going to be governors that are up for re-election or for new election. In some places, it's going to be state legislatures. And all of this matters and matters enormously, not in some abstract sense, but in day-to-day how people live their lives. And so you just couldn't think of a more consequential election than what's going to happen on November 3rd.
So break it down for me a little bit. You're saying it's not abstract, it's our day-to-day lives. What do the stakes look like? The stakes.
Right on the ballot will be healthcare for tens of millions of Americans. As you may remember, first, the Republicans tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act through the courts. And by a 5-4 decision, Supreme Court said, nope, healthcare survives. Tens of millions of people got to keep their healthcare. Good. Then Donald Trump comes in, Republicans have a majority in the House and the Senate. This is 2017. And the Republicans say, fine, we're going to use Congress and the presidency and just repeal it. So they repeal in the House, they vote in the House to repeal, comes over to the Senate. We don't have the votes on the Democratic side, but enough outside pressure, enough people saying that healthcare matters and we're not going to take it away from tens of millions of people. And by golly, enough Republicans switched their votes, but by just a thread, we managed to hang on to healthcare. So it sounds like it should be over, right? Wrong. Now, Ruth Ginsburg died this past weekend. Donald Trump and the Republicans in the Senate want to ram through a new Supreme Court nominee. And the whole plan here is get someone, remember how I said it was 5-4? They want to switch it so it'll be 5-4 the other way. Get one more person who will vote to take away health care for tens of millions of people. So there it is right at the top. Joe Biden will not take away health care from tens of millions of people. In fact, he wants to expand health care coverage. So if you care about health care for yourself, for people in your family, if you worry about people with pre-existing conditions, if you worry about your kids, anybody who's young and on their parents' policy, if you just think about what's right, then you care right off the top about voting for Joe for president, Joe and Kamala, and voting for Democrats in the Senate and in the House. That will help us keep health care for millions of people. So that's one. Let me tell you another one, student loan debt. Right now, about 45 million Americans are dealing with student loan debt. And here's the thing, it continues to go up. And think about that, because every year some people pay off, some people go to college, ought to stay about the same, right? But the interest rates are so high, the fees and penalties when people stumble, and so many people are in default. About 9 million Americans right now are not, even before the pandemic, were not making their student loan payments. When you put all that together, student loan debt is growing at 100% billion a year. So what are we going to do about that? The answer from the Republicans is squeeze people harder, make them pay. Joe Biden, the Democrats are saying, let's cancel a big chunk of that student loan debt. We cancel a chunk of that student loan debt, we give a whole generation of young people a little firmer footing. And one more thing we can do, you do this right, and you're not surprised, I got a plan for that, but you do this right, and we can start to close the black-white wealth gap. In fact, canceling $50,000 worth of student loan debt for upper middle class, working class, poor, would actually increase net wealth in the African American community by about 40%. African Americans are more likely to have to borrow money to go to school, borrow more money while they're in school, and have a harder time paying it off when they get out of school. The average African American college graduate, think about this, 12 years out of college owes more money on their loans than they did when they graduated because they're having such a hard time to pay. So we wipe out a chunk of student loan debt, and think what that means. A lot more people who are stronger economically, our economy is stronger, and we start to address racial inequality in this country. We hit that economic inequality head on and make some real progress. That's good. That's a good reason to vote on November 3rd.
Yeah, wow. And also 40% to elevate by 40%. Oh my God.
What that would mean. So when people are out talking about racial inequality in this country, and I'm so glad people are talking about this is the moment. We can no longer deny that. But let's be real about making change. Let's not just talk about it. And yes, we need criminal justice reform. You bet we do. We need reforms in policing, absolutely. But we also need economic reforms. We need to create more opportunity in this country. And one way to do it, it's the student loan debt piece.
Get registered to vote, get your mail-in ballot, and make a voting plan.